Hello everyone, this is Raja Ramesh and welcome back to TypeScript and Playwright Journey. In this video, we will learn about variables and usage of var, let and const while declaring the variables in TypeScript. If you are confused about when to use let, const or var in TypeScript, don't worry, let's clear it up. First we will see about variables. What are variables? Simply we can say variables as containers or placeholders to store some data. The data can be anything, whether it is a name or age or name of a place or some measurement or some boolean value like true or false, anything. We have some value to be stored and we are storing that value in some container and referring to that container as a variable. We will see about storing different types of data into variables in separate video. And while declaring variables in TypeScript, we can do that using three keywords. One is var, second is let, and third is const. Var was used in old JavaScript, but it has some issues. It does not respect the block scope. It led to the unexpected bug. We will see that. Open Visual Studio and create a new file and name that as variables.ts. Now we will declare a new variable using var v1 equal to 10. So here v1 is the name of variable and we used the keyword var to declare a variable and we stored data 10 into that. Now let us log this to the console by writing console.log v1. Always remember to save your code frequently. Now run this file using the command ts-node space variables.ts and hit enter. You can see 10 is there. But earlier we mentioned var does not respect block scope. Let us understand that. Now we will declare another variable but inside block. So first we create a block and var v2 equals to 20 and try to print that outside the block. Because var is not bothered about where it is exactly declared, we don't see any error. And if you run this code, you see the value of v2 is printed. If at all the user is in the assumption like they are working inside a block and they want to limit that variable scope inside that block, and if they are using var, it is not going to work in the way they are expecting, because when we use var for any variable, the scope is not limited to the block, and this is one of the reason the modern TypeScript avoids usage of var. Now we will see about let. Let is also used to declare variables in TypeScript, but it has block scope, so it is better to use let because it limits the scope and it is the recommended way to declare the variables when the value will change. We'll see an example for this. Go to your Visual Studio and open the variables.ts file. Just to make the code clear, I'm just going to comment out the code. I will explain about comments in separate video. For now, the code with comments will be ignored while executing. Now we will declare a new variable using let v1 equals to 10 and print the value of v1. Clear the terminal using clear command so that you will see the latest output. You don't see much difference when you run this file, but when we have that variable which is declared with let inside a block, so create a block and define a new variable v2 and save 20 into that and try to access this from outside the block. See, you're seeing some error, and if you mouse over to that, you see cannot find name v2. Unlike v2 which is declared with var inside a block, we are seeing an error here because let limits the scope to the block in which it is declared. So when the requirement is to have the variables with scope, it is recommended to use let. And one more thing about let is the variables which are declared with let allows you to change the value. For example, we have value 10 in v1 and try to change the value in v1 to 20. It did not complain and write the value to the console. And when you run this file, you will see first 10 is printed because of line number 10 over here, and because the value is changed to 20 in line number 17, the new value is printed. So use let when you want to declare a variable that should honor scope and the value can be changed. Now we will see about const. Like let, const also limits the scope of a variable to the block in which it is declared. In addition to that, it doesn't allow to change the value inside the variable. So whenever you have a requirement to save some value within a variable and you don't want to change that, you can use const, so that makes your code safer and prevent accidental modification. Let us see this. Go to your VS Code and open the variables file and declare a variable with const and provide some value. And one more thing to note over here, if you don't save some value while declaring the variable, you will see an error. If you mouse over to that, you see the message, the declaration must be initialized, because the variables that are declared as const does not allow to change the value inside those. So you have to provide the value while you are declaring the variable itself. So I will provide some value into that, and we can demo the block scope also. And we will see by declaring one const inside a block and try to access that from outside the block. You will see an error, cannot find name v2 because it is declared in a block. So you have to use that inside the block. And if you run the code, you are seeing the value of v2 is getting printed. Just to mention over here, this is the case with let and const. From this block, you can access the variable that is declared outside the block because it is declared in the global level. So if you try to log v1, it will never complain. And if you run the code, you see the value of v1 and v2 both are getting printed. v2 is 20 and v1 is 10. If user tries to change the value of a const variable, they'll see an error. Cannot assign to v1 because it is a constant. So using const is perfect for fixed values like API keys and configurations like that. To summarize, use const when the value won't change and let when it will, and avoid var in modern TypeScript. That's it. Now you know the difference between let, const and var in TypeScript. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe.